Hi there. If you're listening to this message is specifically for you.
Thank you for listening to the CoBB. I'm Sharan and I co host this with Sudeep.
We've been at it for some time, and we really want to thank you from the bottom of our heart for listening to us and making us reach thus far.
And we'd love to know a lot more about you and what you would like to hear from us.
And hence, please take just 2 minutes of your time and fill this form. The links are in the comments or in the show notes. It will help us recognize who you are and also get your expectations so that we can craft the podcast content to satisfy those expectations.
Welcome to CoB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharvan Raghavan.
So, Sharan, is it because today is Friday and we are about to get into a weekend? That is why you're talking about something which has got to do with a lazy marketer?
No, I've I've been listening to you talk about how awesome a marketer can be, how they should become awesome, all your top B school trends, top brand experience, all the leadership gyan you talk about. There are people like me also in the system. This is dedicated to people who are like me, who don't want to lift a finger more than they're supposed to.
Of
And
course.
you also speak a lot about running and how that is meditative. Being lazy is the most meditative experience I've had. And today is my chance to pass that on to the world.
Oh, so we are talking about marketing pandas.
Pretty much.
Okay. I think all our listeners would possibly take it with a pinch of salt. I'm hoping you want them to do that, right?
No.
No?
You always wash what I'm trying to give the audience from my perspective. You can wash it after I make my points.
Okay. Fair. So fair. Okay. So I'll take it on face value then. So why don't you tell us, Sharon, in your experience, how to be a lazy marketer?
Yes. I know you spoke about how marketers get very busy. Marketers shouldn't be busy, in my opinion, and they should find ways to be lazy. And there is this saying, right? Find the laziest person and give them the task, and they'll find the quickest way to do it and then sit idle. So, a laziness is a positive trait. And I say all marketers should take the lazy way out. So, therefore, my points.
Okay. Fair. Uh, I can't find too much fault with that argument. So why don't you lay out your success formula to be a lazy marketer?
So, the first step is to learn to say no.
Hmm.
And we end up saying yes to a lot of things.
Hmm.
And as marketers, you just need to say no to a lot of temptations.
Hmm.
And marketing is where we spend a lot of money. A lot of companies spend a lot of money, and there are always people pitching something new. There's a latest trend coming up. You want to use the latest tool. I remember when I was at Reckitt, there was a big argument when Harpic advertised on the IPL,
Hmm.
and the justification was IPL's got women audiences and all that. It was absolute nonsense. It was
Hmm.
just wanting to be on the shiny object. It's the shiny
Hmm.
object syndrome. So don't jump on everything new that comes your way. Be
Hmm.
patient, let the others jump on it, and then watch what happens, and then you can follow. So there is also this social media trend, right? Everything, every platform that comes on, you need to take on, you need to perform there, try it out. Most of the time, it doesn't really work. Most of the time, it's like threads, people took to it, and then it kind of lost track. I know there are marketers who still post on threads. For what job? Doesn't really make any sense. And there is this chat gpt and AI thing, and they want to do everything with chat gpt and AI. I saw a brand manager recently use chat gpt to create a
Table.
table as in a spreadsheet. And
Okay.
excel works perfectly fine. I know it's
Hmm.
fascinating to do it on chat gpt, but you don't need to. And there is, when you don't do all this for work, There is enough time to explore all this in a personal capacity. If you're interested, by all means do it, but don't do it as part of your work.
Hmm.
It's it's not worth the time.
Hmm.
Most of the time it isn't even worth the effort.
Hmm.
So don't keep jumping onto everything new that comes your way. Say no, resist the temptation, and you will save yourself a lot of time.
Okay. Fair. So saying no, I think that works for a lot of professions. If you want to be ruthlessly focused, saying a lot of no is also quite critical. Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
cherry pick Cherry pick your work.
Okay.
Understand what you're trying to achieve.
Huh.
Be very clear so that you don't have to do anything else.
Hmm.
So going back to social media, you don't have to be on every platform,
Hmm.
because every platform requires different skill sets, different thinking process if you want to do a good job on those platforms. But you don't need to be there, because your target audience is very likely not on all the platforms. You're
Hmm.
doing it more to satiate yourself, your team, your boss. So don't do that. Pick one platform, master it for your brand. At best, there will be a secondary platform. There is a lot of conversation about repurposing content across multiple platforms.
Hmm.
Even that takes time. Why bother doing it when it's got no benefit to work?
Hmm.
Just don't do that. Master one platform, be so good at it that nobody can ask you questions about it, and chill. You don't have to focus on the other platforms. At best, what you're doing on one platform can be on the second. But for this, what you need to know is, you need to know your customers, your consumers, where they are, and which platform makes the best sense for them.
Hmm.
And once you've got that cracked, you don't really have to bother with everything new that's coming about.
Okay. Fair. Fair. That makes sense. So what you're saying is say no and make choices,
Yeah.
right? Okay. What else?
Number three
Hmm.
is about focusing on just the basics. So
Hmm.
this is something I picked up from Naval Ravikant. When he speaks about economics, he says,
Hmm.
master microeconomics, because nobody's even sure what macroeconomics is.
Hmm. Hmm.
People are
Hmm.
still debating what makes up macroeconomics.
Hmm. Hmm.
And just figuring out the microeconomics, the basics of how things work, is good enough for you to master anything.
Hmm.
That's the core of it. So have the permission to do the basics. So do not go around trying to game social media, because the moment you game it, the algorithm changes the next day.
Hmm.
Rather, track human behavior, read history, figure ways to map human behavior. That will hold you in better stead. This
Hmm.
goes back to what we did previously, to say, when you're picking your channels, if you can focus on people, you'd save yourself a lot of time.
Hmm.
And the other hack is that any marketing role, any brand you're working on, there are always top three non negotiable deliverables. And usually it is these top three deliverables that are used to gauge your performance at any level.
Hmm.
So if you don't have a KPI sheet, go to your boss, ask him or her about what are the top three things you can do on your brand. Forget the rest. Focus on those three, track it doggedly, see if you're working on it, you're measuring it, forget the rest. And there are different ways to measure each objective depending on what it is. Figure out, also understand how you're going to be measured on these three deliverables, and work diligently on it. And you don't have to do anything more, because you are so focused on what's to be delivered, you don't have to be bothered with what is not required of you, or what the peripherals are required of you. And the other beautiful thing about being good at the basics is that you can always delegate the basics. You don't even have to do that. You only have
Hmm.
to track it. As long as you manage to delegate the basic work on the brand.
Okay. Fair. Fair. You're saying strip it down to what really matters and
Mhm.
go after it.
Pretty much. And actually strip it down to what really matters, and then get somebody else to do it for you.
Hmm. Even better.
In fact, that's the next
Understood.
point.
Understood. Okay. What else?
So the next point is about getting other people to do all your work.
Hmm.
So you talk about the king without the crown.
Yeah.
As a good marketer, I say pass the crown, make other people the king. And as long as you can tell them a story of why that work needs to be done, they will get down to doing it.
Hmm.
And a really good marketer is not supposed to do anything on the job. They're supposed to understand the problem, articulate the problem, and give it to the right person to solve for that problem. And if you can do this, you're already a great marketer. So why bother doing too much more than this? So you need to figure out how to write a brief, and you need to
Hmm.
figure out who is going to do the work for you. There are creative agencies, market research agencies, there are packaging vendors, there's a factory team, there's a sales team. Everybody's there to support you. Make use of them, get them to do all the work, and you'll be
Hmm.
fine.
Hmm. Okay.
Is there a
Fair.
silver lining you're going to add to that?
No, I'm just thinking that, while your first 3 points were specifically around, you know, avoiding distractions,
Hmm.
uh, picking really value added work,
Hmm.
or stripping your work down to what is actually needed to move the needle.
Hmm.
The fourth one is all about, trying to get it done from somebody else.
Hmm.
And the danger with this one possibly is that if somebody else is doing it for you, your ability to add value would significantly depend on, the other person's ability to, one, come up with some kind of an output, and number two, being able to absorb what you tell them at the pace that you really want them to absorb.
Hmm.
So that's a little bit of a risk in this one.
That comes down to the brief. And I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'd say if you can master the art of the brief,
Mm,
you can afford to be the lazy marketer.
mm,
You can't be an incapable marketer. You got to
mm.
master a few skills, and these skills will help you be lazy. And when you brief them, it's about getting them to bake the cake so that you can go add the icing and the cherry on top of it.
Thank you for listening to CoB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharvana Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net. That's CoBBCAST.net.
What else? Now you're going to ask them to go on a vacation?
Almost. We'll wait for a couple more points before we go on a vacation here. Is that this is something that I have been guilty of. In fact, uh, our alma mater, which is Cadbury Mondelez, is largely guilty of, where because we make great communication at Mondelez Cadbury, we make too many of them, and you don't need as much communication, as much new, fresh communication or TVCs to be put out. I'm saying TVCs because that's what we used to do, but any kind of content, you don't have to keep refreshing it so often. We get bored of the message a lot faster than the consumer does, and there's a threshold to which a communication ends up kind of decaying. So let it run its course. So there's so much effort that goes into making communication, all forms of communication. There is money being invested, and it's almost ritualistic that people make a new communication every year, and some larger brands make communication every quarter. You don't need to, right?
Mm.
So why save yourself the time, save your company the money, run all your resources down to the bare minimum, as in max out how much you can run your resources to. You've created, there's effort gone into it, there's money gone into it. Max out the benefits of it now. So what if you're bored? Consumers are not. Push it.
Mm. Mm. So getting efficiency out of whatever you have.
Yeah, that's a positive way of looking at it. But yeah.
Okay, I can't help it. Okay, fair. So now that you're doing that,
Hmm,
you don't create new creatives, you only do what is necessary. You possibly get it done from somebody else.
hmm,
You say no to a lot of things. So therefore, finally, what are you asking people to do?
nothing. So
Okay.
when you, if you've done the top five,
Huh.
people will see you lazing around the office. The key for a lazy marketer is never to be seen lazing around.
Hmm.
So when you've delegated or you've kind of narrowed down all the work and you've finished the top five of the list, leave office, get out, go have some great food. You can call it a market visit, travel across the country, go to all your markets, and the sales guys will always know the best eating joints.
Hmm.
Eat with them, work the market, talk to them, build rapport, but make sure you have the right food, enjoy yourself. And if sales guys sometimes get too boring and they're feeding you too much, go meet consumers. They'll welcome you into their homes and sit there, talk to them for at least an hour each. And one, that'll make you a better marketer. It'll make you more popular within the sales teams. And you don't have to be seen lazing around in the office
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay. So fair. So the fear of getting caught should take you to the sales team and the consumers.
for food.
Okay. Fair. So now that the you've completed the cycle of asking them to do nothing in office, step out to the field. Anything else you want to add to this list?
One last thing
Okay.
is that you need to have fun to be a good marketer, to be a lazy marketer.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have fun on the job, it shows in the work you do.
Hmm.
As minimal as it is, if you can't enjoy the work you're doing, you will not do good work, whether you're lazy or active.
Hmm.
And I see a lot of people working in companies where their values are not aligned. I remember in one of the early episodes, Sudeep, you mentioned that you would never work for a tobacco company or an alcohol company
Yeah.
because you don't prescribe to the values there. I think more tobacco than alcohol.
Tobacco.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if people can be that clear, not just about what they're selling, but about the culture of the company, about the values the company prescribes. I see a lot of companies save costs by not having a customer service number or hiding a customer service number so that nobody can call you.
Hmm.
And then people take to social media venting their frustrations. And the moment you mention the company you're working for, everybody piles on to you about the customer complaint they've had, not knowing what you do in the company. And
Correct. That's
you're
true.
guilty by association, right? Just because you're working for that company,
Yeah.
you're presumed to be guilty. And that doesn't let you sleep too well.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
there are culture fits that you're part of. You'd want to be part of a certain culture. And if that culture doesn't work for you, I'm not saying it's a wrong culture, but if that culture doesn't fit you or your value system, you're better off moving than sticking around there.
Hmm. Okay.
And
No,
marketing is
fair.
about happy communication. So if you're not having fun, what's the point of all of
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I would possibly give a statutory warning. Have fun, but don't have too much fun.
it?
Yeah. Like you were saying, if you're having fun, it shows. And immediately, what came? Do you know what came to my mind?
What?
I don't know why it came to my mind, but it did. There's this campaign that Ching's Masala had done with Rohit Shetty,
Hmm.
with Ranveer Singh.
Okay.
He called himself Ranveer Ching in that one,
Okay.
and it's bizarre. It's literally bizarre. They've constructed some campaign in some fantasy land, and so it's clear that Ranveer Singh and
Rohit
Rohit
Shetty had
Shetty
a
were
lot of fun.
certainly having fun. I'm not sure Ching's was. But core point is have fun, but not at somebody else's expense. So I don't know why was I reminded of this one, but I remember seeing, and it was a magnum opus kind of an advertising, like Rohit Shetty does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they put together this entire thing, and I somebody told me that Ranveer Singh has some background in advertising,
Oh, okay.
so he kind of possibly medals in the ads as well.
Okay.
Possibly goes on to explain that most of his ads are quite poorly written.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's another one that you usually see on TV, some Kotak Bank or something.
Yeah.
He
I
and,
never understood what that is about.
he and other
Kirti
girl
Suresh.
are
Yeah.
arguing about putting it in fixed deposit or putting it in savings account or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, I think we're getting into the wrong area. I was just issuing a statutory warning that have fun for sure, but not at somebody else's expense.
No, I get what he's saying
Yeah.
because, especially with celebrities, right? They're so
Hmm.
easy to go off because marketers themselves can become fanboys.
Hmm.
And I think you've addressed this before, say how the celebrity should be in service of the brand and the
Hmm.
brand being in service of the celebrity. Yeah, so you don't have that kind of fun. You
Hmm.
don't end up costing your company. The fun is in the work that you do. Now that you've eliminated everything else in the system that to keep you too busy, now have fun doing whatever is left of it. So if you were to kind of narrow this down, right? So what would you pick as one thing that you've done to keep yourself lazy as a marketer over here?
A lot of them actually. Lot of these. So I think, the way you framed it, while it seemed that it was a clickbait headline. Lazy can be substituted by the word smart, and so therefore these are quite a lot of things that possibly one would advise a lot of marketers to do.
Hmm.
uh, we've spoken about some of these in one way or the other earlier.
Hmm.
um, so this all of this seems like a right kind of advice, to hopefully help them focus their energies on things that really matter,
Right.
and bringing the kind of fun, vibrancy, fresh ideas, laser sharp focus, as well as resourcefulness that any brand needs from a marketer.
Hmm.
So this seems like solid advice, Sharon. So
Awesome.
to be able to say no to, you know shiny new things,
Hmm.
uh, cherry picking, uh, you know uh, cherry picking things that are really needed to be done, stripping down things to the basics, and then getting somebody else to work on the basics. uh, you know drawing efficiency out of whatever you have, rather than getting tired of your own campaigns and then reinventing them. And once you've done that, you don't want to be seen lazing around in the office, so go to the market, meet the sales team, meet the consumers. That will add a lot of value to you as well. And last but not the least is all about having fun, because it kind of rubs off, shows in the work that comes out of the brand. There's some very nicely crafted, very sneakily given advice, Sharon. I'm sure all the young marketers out there in our listening group would definitely enjoy these.
Yes, I hope the clickbaity thing works and more people listen in and realize how lazy they can be as marketers.
No, no, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. Thank you very much, Sharon.
And given that this is about laziness, I think
Haha.
this should be amongst the shortest of episodes we've recorded.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully. Let's do that. Yes. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sudeep.
Thank you,
Bye.
Sharon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharvana Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net. That's CoBBcast.net.